What's good? What's good? Another video today. Tonight, actually, I should say. Thank you for the 15 subscribers now. We're up another subscriber since the last video. And hopefully that continues to rise. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you like the content and you want to get down to the bottom of this. You clicked on the video. It said MGTOW. You know some of what you're in for. And judging from the title of this video and the last one, we're going to be talking a little bit of economics here, politics here, whatever you want to call it. Allocation of resources. Yeah, we're going to get into some interesting stuff on this channel, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, that's all I got to say on that. Let me just get into this one. So as I detailed in a bit in my last video, the United States is trying its hand at a communist utopia as of right now. And remember that I live in California. You may also live in California watching this video. And you guys see what's going on. Many countries have tried to do this ever since Karl Marx initially dropped his manifesto in 1848. And it's never worked. That Communist Manifesto was one of the most powerful works of writing of all time. I don't want, at least the last 150 years. I don't know about all time because there's been a lot of things written, but at least the last 150 years. And it's never worked. No communist utopia has ever worked. And then, yeah, we'll just get into the rest here. Young people these days tend toward communism because it seems appealing, I guess, when you're young and you don't really know. At least they did for the Gen Xers and the millennials. Those people tended toward communism. I don't know if Gen Z is doing that, though, to be honest. I think they're realizing that it's not quite what it seems. These Gen Xers and millennials didn't really know any better. And then look at where it got them. That's why Gen Z is like, nah, we don't really want to do that. Because we know where it got them. Where did it get them? Increasing wealth gap, more printed money, an inflated stock market, lowering rates of real production with simultaneous rates, lowering rates of real production with a simultaneous increase in the rates of consumption. And I'll also add an increase in the rates of speculation. Why? Because nothing's being produced. So with nothing being produced, you need it in order to give you honestly something to do, period. Let's just put it that way. To give you something to do, you speculate on the little things being produced rather than just producing yourself. Or, you know, oftentimes you're not, even if you want to produce, you're not allowed to produce because you're not at that level in the hierarchy or that level in the bureaucracy to where you actually can produce. So you're left speculating on the little amount of people in the society producing. If that makes sense. Well, and all you can do is just consume and or speculate. And we see that in the inflated stock market. A lot of this is because the young people didn't understand how these systems worked in general. And it had been so long since this system's collapsed that over time you forget, especially if you're not born or your parents weren't born, the last time there was a huge conflict. You're not really going to remember what led to that last conflict, so you're doomed to repeat it. Like they say, history repeats itself, and that's just facts. That's like I was like, when I was younger, I was like, hey, we can just sit down and learn all the history so we don't repeat it. But at this point, I kind of agree that history is doomed to repeat itself. even if you sit down and read all the history, not everyone else is going to do it. So then the person that sits down and tries to read all the history ends up being like the last people before the last conflict that tried to sit down and read all the history. And, we'll just move on from there. So, okay. What did these young people do, these Gen Xers and millennials? They did their degree in the university. They went into their one field of work, which tended to actually not even be in the same field they did their studies. And then, partly because of this fact, they just simply gave up hope on understanding the systems of society in general. Because to go back, especially when you're like hit with defeat when you're kind of young, to go back and try to overcome that and then take on take on an understanding of other things is kind of hard to do. I know, because I tried to do it and everyone told me, and I'm currently trying to do it, everybody's telling me I'm like weird and I'm not doing the right thing, which maybe I'm not. Like, it's just the whole no one gives you a chance at trying to understand just, I don't know, things in general. People, they just want you to stay in your box. So I'm thinking Generation Z will flip this trend worldwide, especially after COVID. At least I would hope so, because this just isn't, if COVID becomes a new norm, then that's wow. If COVID becomes a new norm, damn. That's all I gotta say, is damn on that. But in this day, we have all this information on the World Wide Web. We have all this information and wisdom from our elders, and here we are sharing this information with each other across the World Wide Web using the internet. So all this information represents potential power or potential energy. You can think of it as potential energy if you're into physics, which I like physics a little bit. So at this point, at least from what I'm observing, the individual has to be the source of that potential power, because everybody knows a different set of things at this point, especially in a post-COVID landscape. Everybody knows different stuff because everybody's background and interests are different. And with access to the internet and the ability to just learn about stuff at your own pace when you want, that's something that's hard to really quantify or even qualify. That's something that's hard to even get your head around. The fact that everybody can learn what they want when they want it. The fact that that's the baseline now, that's crazy. That's pretty new and that's crazy. But it's the norm. So that's one of those things that's quickly become the norm because it just makes so much sense. And people are going to forget that that's the norm, but that's going to have a profound impact on society. That's that baseline, that underlying baseline of normalcy that we have now with the internet and the World Wide Web is nuts. Remember that this thing is only around 30-ish years old, and people are growing up. People are born, like people like me, to be honest. I was born after the HTTP protocols were put up and people were sharing documents on the web. I think that was 92 or 93. I was born in 96. So you have a whole generation of people born after the World Wide Web was a thing. And now you have even more people that were born after it was seen as a legitimate way to get your information. because probably for the first 10-ish years of that World Wide Web, it wasn't a legitimate way to get information. People were like, and I even remember this back in the day, people were like, oh, you looked at that on the internet, don't believe everything you read on the internet. That was such a common thing said up until I was in middle school, probably. In middle school, and even into high school, I think, to be honest, if I remember correctly, you couldn't even cite the internet. You couldn't cite the internet as a legitimate source. You couldn't cite Wikipedia. You couldn't cite a website unless it was, I don't know, something really, well, like the Library of Congress or something, like some government website. You couldn't cite the internet, like common websites on the World Wide Web, because that was seen as illegitimate. In this day, that people completely forgot that, like, in this day you can cite Wikipedia, you can cite websites, you can even cite like YouTube videos and stuff. Honestly, like, you can, at this point, people are literally getting their educations on the internet because so much is being put on, because the technology advanced. No longer is it just documents. You can have different kinds of media. You can have videos, audio, a lot of different things, like to the point where you can put an entire curriculum on the internet replete with its documents, with its lectures in video format. And you could even have a community of, you can even have the whole class connect on the internet with a chat room or like a thing like Discord, where you have the other students congregating. So there's a lot of things that changed in a short amount of time, and Gen Z just picks up on this and is gonna run with it as individuals, I think, because this internet thing, this World Wide Web thing is not, it's still kind of a Wild West, to be honest. It's not to the point where everybody is doing the same thing on it. Even though that kind of was tried, there are those sites that everybody kind of goes on, like the social media sites, but in terms of what people are learning, that's just different. So I talked about that enough. That even I can't quite put into words what I'm trying to say there, because the concept is just so new and profound, to be honest. But now we have to shift that potential power into real moving power, or kinetic energy, if you want to go along with the physics little metaphor there. And we have to build the society that we want. And that's facts. So me personally, I am for the emphasis on the individual in terms of the society we want to build. As I'm sure many of you MGTOWs are. That's why you're MGTOW. So let's see if it works out this way. I'll try to do my part, starting with this YouTube channel, and leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you like that, or if you like the concepts I'm trying to get at here. I'm starting with the YouTube channel, so hopefully you guys follow it, and there will be a lot more, especially after this, if this COVID stuff ends, after it ends, and we can go back to school, and I can take those computer science classes, get some other people to work with me on some projects that I want to launch, and this channel could turn into a lot of different stuff. So yeah, definitely subscribe if you want to follow that stuff. And we're just about done with this video, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay healthy, and yeah, peace out. Don't let the COVID bug bite, I guess. I don't know. Or the bed bugs. Don't let anything bite. Try to stay alive to see what happens here. Alright, peace out.